In this Japanese village, some ages are considered unlucky. And if you happen to be one of them, you don't avoid danger. You step directly into it. And tonight, that means standing between a wooden shrine and an ever-consuming fire. I am currently in Nagano, and in a few minutes I'm going to be taking the train to Iyama, and from there a bus to Nozawa Onsen. Nozawa Onsen is a small little mountain town known for its beautiful scenery and skiing. The reason I'm going there is because every January 15th they hold a massive festival called Dōsojin. The short version is this. The village builds a massive wooden shrine and then proceeds to try to burn it down. All while certain men, those who are chosen specifically because they are unlucky in their age, attempt to defend it. This all sounds incredibly dramatic, and it is, but that's only one of the reasons why I am so drawn to this event here. It's the idea that the whole community chooses to start the year together, doing something that is meaningful and dangerous and exciting. Most of the time we mark new beginnings relatively quietly, whether that is resolutions or calendars or promises we make to ourselves. Here they do it with passion, with heat, with noise, and with a structure they know won't last the night. I really don't know what to expect yet. I tried to avoid seeing any sort of video footage of the event online because I knew I wanted to come in with my own fresh eyes and fresh experience. I know it'll be crowded and loud and fiery. I know I'm going to have to keep my distance away from the fire and always have my eyes open at all times. But what I'm really interested in is seeing what people are like when they don't shy away from the edge of things. When they meet the year head on and say, we'll carry this together. So that's where I'm heading. I'm gonna go find out what the only thing that matters is at Dōsojin in Nozawa Onsen. Getting here was pretty simple on paper. I took a train from Nagano Station to Iyama Station, and from right outside the train station I took a bus just for 25 minutes or so up into the mountains to Nozawa Onsen. The windows fogged and cleared and fogged again. Slowly, mounds of snow arose from the landscape. The roads start to narrow. Steam rises from houses as we pass them. It was incredibly picturesque. And then all of a sudden you arrive to this really beautiful town. Before checking into my hotel, which is this very cool traditional Japanese room, I went down to the grounds where the festival will be happening to watch them finish the last minute preparations. The shrine is already standing, it's massive, it's bigger than actually I even imagined. It's all wood and rope, not necessarily decorative, but really beautiful and really impressive. But you can tell it's been built to be burned. It does have the look of a campfire. As I mentioned, every January 15th, this village does something incredibly interesting and a bit strange, but very deliberate. They build this shrine over a few months, knowing that by tomorrow it's not going to be there. And I think there's something really beautiful about that ephemeral sort of quality to it. Because they know eventually they're just going to let it go. Ashes to ashes, dust to dust. That contradiction of building something only to destroy it is obviously on purpose. There's a reason behind it. People will tell you it's about luck or harvest or health. And it is, they're right. But standing there when I was watching them prepare for it, it almost boils down to something simpler than that. It feels like this really tangible decision that they are making every single year to do this. If you're gonna face the year, don't do it quietly, do it together. Stand shoulder to shoulder and meet the future head on, albeit in a rather dangerous way, but a fun way that unites a whole community. Tonight, they will set this place on fire. But right now, it's pretty calm. I found out pretty last minute that if you're not staying overnight in Nozawa Onsen, you can't just show up and watch. I got lucky because there was a single bed left for me. So I headed to the festival when it was time and I picked a spot and committed to it. The crowd was pretty dense. There was a lot of locals, plus the people that were staying in town. I tried to get as close as I could to the shrine, but honestly, it was probably for the best that I stayed back a little bit, because he can really mess up your gear quickly. But I also didn't want to be too far either. From a distance, you kind of lose the sense of what's actually happening. When I had arrived, the men were already chanting. You could tell they had been for quite some time, and they would continue on chanting for many hours more. There is a real physical excitement in the air. At this point, it's mostly about paying attention. After a few hours of this chanting, there are fireworks. Reds and oranges and whites burst across the sky, and then the drumming begins. The drums get louder and more frantic, and that's how I know all of this is starting. Massive torches come into view from behind us, and everything starts to shift. The crowd tightens up, the noises change, the fire doesn't necessarily adjust itself for the ceremony, it just does what fire does. It flares, it drops back, it pulls air, and it grows louder. We stay like this for a while, the fire teasing the 25-year-old men packed around the base of the shrine, with the 42-year-old men chanting from above, calling to the Dōsojin, protective Shinto deities. Those ages are considered unlucky years here, and instead of avoiding that, the village gives these men a roll. You don't step out of the way, you step forward. And then the line moves closer, and I can start to feel it physically. There's heat on one side of my face and cold on the other. Rain hits my forehead. I'm right in the middle of it. There's kids on shoulders trying to see the action. There's older women calling names from the crowd, and every once in a while you hear someone laughing. Not because it's funny, but because it's really intense and a little overwhelming, and everyone around them feels that same urge at the same time. I expected it to feel like a fight, but honestly, it's more like waves hitting a shoreline over and over again. The torchline pushes forward. The defenders give a little ground and then hold. Pine branches smack into flame and send sparks flying everywhere. I can hear wood hissing, fabric crackling, and people catching their breath. This isn't some choreographed routine, but it is practiced. There's a kind of courage here that doesn't really get talked about much, I don't think. The courage to stay steady in the middle of something that could go wrong. I see it in the man battling back a torch and laughing, because laughter helps you stay loose. I see it in the woman beside him, watching where the embers land and stepping sideways to shield a kid without making a scene. I see it in the kid who flinches and then straightens and then asks if they can stay. I thought the meaning of this would arrive with the biggest flames, but instead it shows up in the smaller moments, once people stop counting pushes and start moving together. From far enough away, fire looks incredibly dramatic. Up close though, it changes how you think. Heat hits my teeth, my camera fogs and clears and fogs again. I blink and everything resets to orange. There's a flash of fear when the fire comes near, just enough to sharpen my focus and cause me to laugh, and then something else settles in. Not calm, more like trust. What surprises me isn't that the village allows this, but it's that they choose it. Not to impress anyone, not to put on a show, but to mark the year in a way that feels honest. There's no voice guiding this, just drums and shouting and wood and flame doing what they do. I think about the things that people carry from year to year, habits that don't help anymore, grief that hasn't found a place to land, and versions of ourselves that don't seem to quite fit. Fire doesn't fix any of that, but it lets you say, this is the start, and sometimes that's enough. When it happens fast. It's shortly after 10 p.m. and it's time for heat to rush in. The shrine that felt so solid a moment ago starts to collapse into itself. People step forward and then back. Faces glow the same color, no matter how old they are. There's an old belief that if a spark touches you, it brings you good luck. I see hands reaching out and others closing their eyes. Not exactly to pray, but more like to take in what's happening. A child near me goes quiet, and I know that this will stay with them for a long time. The most fascinating part of all of this is that it was built to be lost. Everyone knows that going in, and there's something so steadying about that. Eventually, the roar fades into a crackle and the crowd starts to loosen. The square smells like smoke and wet wool, and there's something sweet underneath it all too. I start to head out, even as people linger, like they're not ready to leave yet. Somebody nearby me finally pours that sake they've been talking about all day, and laughter finds a normal volume again. I walk towards my ryokan and feel the temperature drop as I move away from the center. My eyes and my throat sting from the smoke. My coat and boots are speckled with black ash. The camera is warm in my hands. And then I go to bed. The next morning comes quietly. The square looks smaller in daylight. Ash sits where the edges used to be. Footprints circle in and out. A handful of people surround the burn site, setting grates over the coals and roasting different treats, like mochi and oranges. I think about Dōsojin, guardians of the in-between. Most of life happens in between things, between years, between decisions, between who we were and who we're becoming. The fire wasn't about erasing the past, but instead it was about making a place to stand together before moving on. Steam drifts up from the bathhouses. Curtains lift and fall. People greet each other easily, the way that you do after you've shared something loud and difficult and exciting. The year feels open again. If you're looking for a headline about Dōsojin, you're probably missing what matters most. The meaning is in smaller moments, whether that's an old man remembering when he defended the shrine himself, a younger one hearing his father's laugh in his own voice, a parent choosing not to pull their kid away from the sparks, but to stand close and watch together, a shopkeeper measuring the year by how quickly the square empties and how long it takes for the laughter to come back. Fire doesn't hand you lessons. It gives heat, light, and ash. People are the ones who decide what that means. But if you stand in front of it long enough, there are a few things that get clearer. Build something worth losing. Don't lose it alone. Make enough noise to shake loose what's been hanging on too long. Leave space for the morning to be gentler than the night. The spark is rarely dramatic. It's someone telling you where it's safer to stand. It's hot tea in cold hands. It's realizing you're steadier than you thought when things get intense. And that is what gets honored here, with wood and a rope and people willing to show up. From the bus window, the valley stretches out and then slips away. Fields, cedar, and a river pushing ice along its edges. Later, I find a thin line of ash on my boots, and I think of this place. I came for a fire, but I left with something I didn't need to fully understand to feel. Most of our lives are lived between things, between years, fears, visions and versions of ourselves. Maybe Dōsojin is just a name for the promise people make in those spaces, to stand close when it gets hot, to help carry what matters, and to let go of what doesn't. And then, in the morning, you sweep the square and you keep going. Maybe the only thing that matters is that in the glow of what's gone, a path appears.